All right, what's up? It's your boy Matt Mason back again with the OG Race Brain Squad. Y'all don't even know how lucky you are. You had Rich on last week's episode. This week, we've got Jack Bauer. I hear Europeans everywhere hate this man right now. He showed up on Instagram and he just produced cold, hard facts, and people didn't love it. But you know what? Facts don't care about feelings. And on the comeback trail, the fastest man over 37 over in Dallas. We've got BK, Brakken Crocker. Jack, Brakken, how we doing?
It's fantastic.
Bracken's about to hit me with that. Well, Matt, actually, there's
38.
five guys that once ran a 412 in high school, and based on their current fitness, I'm actually the fifth fastest guy.
There's probably 5 women over 37 that can hand it to me right now in this city.
You know what? We should head over to the Pettit. That might be true.
The Pettit's nasty.
It is nasty.
You ever want to feel slow? You show up to the Pettit between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. when the college kids and the serious people show up. Whew.
Yeah, I like the Pettit. I don't have the background that you all do to be able to figure out. So, Jack, we've got this place. It's called the Pettit Ice Center. It's in Milwaukee. It's actually where the USA
skating.
Yeah, it's where the speed. It's where the Olympic Training Center is for speed.
I've got
skating.
like the USA figure skating like less than a mile from where I live, so it's we both have
so
that.
They've got this track around it, but it's like, what is it, Brakken? 433 meters.
Something oversized.
Yeah, it's like it's oversized. So they've got like tape markers down. It's like fine until you get to like 2 miles, and then you're just like lost. Yeah, so it makes it kind of hard for repeats.
Yeah. So it's like kind of an unreliable course, like Berlin.
It's reliable, but it's hard to take splits for 400.
Hard to take splits.
Yep.
Yeah, and even like I find that even like the Garmin like track feature on it is like fairly accurate, but then it gets just confused because
no tracks are 433.
Yeah, no tracks are 433. Yeah, exactly. All right, fellas, on today's show, we're going to do an Elite 15 men's preview. We have got the field that is finalized. We've got their time, so we are going to debate. Before we do, quick plug. If you haven't already, head on over to racebrain.media. Go ahead and subscribe to that newsletter. We are producing so much goodness right now. There is so much content. My goodness, you can't even keep up. RaceBrain is flooding the zone with the amount of content that we were just putting out into the ethos. Jack just put up a great article. Again, it's based in fact on how Berlin is a fast course. That is not to take away from the athletes. If you ran a PR there, good for you. Your performance is still impressive. That does not mean that the course isn't fast. So go ahead and throw us a like. Subscribe to that newsletter. If you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and like and subscribe right now. And if you're on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Brakken, you're waiting to say something.
He's waiting. He's chomping.
Yeah, I think it's PSA time. I think it's time to remind. I think the pro athletes pretty much all get it at this point. It's time to remind the age groupers and the stands that time is a construct in the sport of HYROX. And pretty much everyone is aware of it. Jack Bauer and I were over in the Middle East talking to one Richard Heineck before his race. This is 7-8 days out from Berlin. And he says in his delightful accent, I know it's not smart to race so soon after I won't be recovered, but times are going to be so fast there. I have to go get one in. I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, this is a bad time to race, but you don't get a free fast time like this anywhere else. So the athletes know it and they get it. We all just need to get on board with the fact that times don't matter. And so it's cool if you chase and get a fast time, and it's irrelevant if you get a slow time. But the stands need to all hop up off of it and forget about defending it because it's indefensible, and it also doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that the winner won and second took third and 58th took 58th. That's the spot you earned. The time is immaterial, and it's only good or it's irrelevant. There's no other aspect to it. So no one's hating by saying this was a worldly fast course, otherworldly even. That's not hating. That's a fact.
All right, let's try to contextualize. Let's try to contextualize this. Out of the now 7 major marathons, which one would you all think lends itself most to a PR? Probably Chicago or Berlin.
Berlin
Because
again,
Berlin.
right?
Because
Yeah.
they're flat. Ideal temperatures that time of year. It's like 40 degrees
Minimal
high,
sharp
50
turns.
degrees low. Yeah, minimal sharp turns. And how many PRs do we often see in the elite field on those?
Everyone who doesn't
races?
crack.
Right, but how many does it wind up being? Like, I actually feel like it's been, now that I've been a little bit more tuned into marathons, I feel like it's like a couple, a handful.
Well, everyone goes out to PR, and the marathon is unforgiving.
Right.
So everyone who runs well PRs there, yes, but a lot of people don't.
Well, a lot of people don't. Whereas the proportion of people who, I would venture to say, Brakken, that the majority of people who go out to race a HYROX also run to PR, and they don't. And Jack, what was the percentage?
Who did set a PR?
Yeah.
It was something like 65% on the men's side and like 80 on the women's. It was like stupid.
It's fishing with dynamite. And that's okay. But what people forget is that the moment anything goes wrong with their time, everyone jumps on there to talk about how crowded the course was and how tight the turns were and how the rock zone was not great, and all their stands are like, yeah, that's right. It's so impressive what you did. But as soon as you remove all those factors and you pop one, your stands are like, listen, stop hating. We can't have it both ways. There are fast courses, there are slow courses, and calling them such does not constitute detracting from the athletes. That's all we need. We need you to understand is applying the term fast course does not say athlete A now sucks. It doesn't. There's no correlation there.
Head-to-head racing is what matters. Like you said, Richard crossed the line first on Saturday. Doesn't matter if his time was 70 minutes or 55, or whatever he ended up running. That was a fast time. But he beat every single person, and everyone had the same exact conditions that same exact day, in theory. The issue is now those people get to benefit for presumably the next year if they keep the same roll down, top two fastest times. If you have a 55 or, a 60 flat on the women's side in your repertoire, and normally you're a couple minutes slower than that, now you suddenly don't have the pressure to run not one, but two amazing times to offset those. Like some athletes who weren't lucky to race in Berlin, they're going to have to find another course, and there might not be another Glasgow or Scotland or Stockholm like we saw in previous years that were really fast, because everyone knows those are fast. So you might have a huge disadvantage because you just simply can't even register for these fast courses anymore. How are you going to emerge in the Elite 15 at that point? It's not fair.
Yeah, and Rich made a good point last week. Like, it could just be that, like, in terms of like, we keep using the phrase like fast course. I'm choosing to believe that it was set up appropriately, that it was 8.7K, whatever. It could just be a situation of it was an ideal setup, which, in fairness, you could also make the argument that if you're already in the elite field, like playing devil's advocate here, because we're always talking about the elite field. The elite field has largely stayed the same. Yes, there are some new entrants this year on both sides. That is true. But by and large, it is the same host of characters. And interestingly enough, like, I would say the elite courses, in addition to being set up differently, are optimal settings because they do not have to run the crowds. Little race brain teaser for
The
you.
men's side, I think the women have to deal with it a lot because they start earlier in the day. It gets busier.
Women's pro does. But I'm saying that, like, the elite, if you run an elite race, regardless, you're the only ones out on the track. So looking at out of the 15 men that are in the Elite 15 this year, how many of them do you think their fastest time this season came in a non-elite race?
4.
5.
Bracken says 4. Jack says 5. Hunter McIntyre's fastest time of the season came in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Graham's came in Stuttgart. And then John Wynn's came in Katowice. I think that's how you say it. Everyone else, so 3. The rest of the men, their fastest time was on an elite course this year. So that is, you could make the argument the other way that, like, that's slightly unfair. Interestingly enough, some people, Palayo, because on High Result, it'll show you what their fastest time in men's pro is and what their fastest time in men's elite is. Palayo has been running in the men's elite now for so long that his is actually broken. Palayo has never run a sub 60 men's pro time.
Was
They've
his
all
last
been.
one like New York or something?
I don't even know when his last.
Probably
ones-
regular Chicago. I don't know.
Yeah. I
That's
don't even
crazy.
know.
Well, here's the thing. You can complain all you want that we're wrong, but the winner of that race went there to do what he did, announced that this is going to be historically fast, and he's laughing all the way to the bank. So if they know it and they're taking advantage of it, then it's true. And I want to address one last comment we keep seeing pop up, which it's very ignorant. I know that's an aggressive statement to make, but it's if the distance is the correct distance and they have all the same stations, how could anything ever possibly be faster? That's a rationale we keep seeing. And I'd just like to end that, because what's going to be faster? A race from here to here that goes straight, or that zigs to here? Like, is one turn faster than 15 turns? Obviously, right? Is a 20-meter track going to be slower than a 200-meter track? Yeah, so we've got to stop using that. Well, it's 8.7K total and it's the same stations. How could you possibly make it better or worse? Like that's honestly just foolish. We got to stop making that argument.
Yeah. No doubt. All right. The intro to the Elite 15 women's and men's field have been overshadowed by Berlin talk. We're going to go ahead and get into it. On today's show, we are talking about the men's side specifically. I'm going to go ahead and list off the names because this has been confirmed by HYROX. I'm going to start with the last seed and work our way up to first. I will give the name, where they qualified, and what their qualifying time was. In the 15th seed, Palayo Menendez Fernandez, he qualified out of Hong Kong in 4th place with the 57.25. 14th, Jonathan Wynn got 3rd at the LCQ with the 57.14. 13th, Bo Wills, he took 3rd in Vegas with the 57.09. 12th seed, Graham Holliday, Hong Kong, 3rd place, 57.09. This is wild. The 11th seed, Hunter McIntyre, taking 2nd place in Vegas with 56.37. 10th seed, Heidie Wiersma, last chance qualifier, 2nd place, 56.33. 9th seed, Tim Vinish, Hong Kong, 2nd place, 56.22. 8th seed, Dylan Scott, taking 1st in Vegas with the 56.15. 7th seed, the Aussie, Tom Rogers, winning the last chance qualifier with the 56.05. 6th, Tomasz Tverdik, taking 7th in Glasgow with the 56.03. The 5th seed, Rylan Shadig, Amsterdam, 3rd place, 55.53. The 4th seed, Jake Dearden, taking 6th place in Glasgow with the 55.44. The 3rd seed, Rich Ryan, taking 3rd place in Glasgow with the 54.54. 2nd, James Kelly, taking 2nd place in Amsterdam, 54.29. And your number 1 seed, the reigning world champion, Alexander Roncevic, taking 1st place back in the first major of the season with a 54.07.
Okay. First of all, can we dispel the notion of seeding
Seeds.
people by times?
Yeah,
The
it's dumb.
4th place qualifier took 4th place in the race he qualified in. The 8th ranked qualifier won his major. So again, these seedings are great for bulletin board material. They are really bad if we're setting odd lines for this.
Yeah. You know, and I don't know if there's something that stuck out to me today when I was prepping this was there may not be, this could be a nothing burger. I'll acknowledge that on the front. But as I was fixing the sheet, if you look at the men's and women's time, and actually I'll just go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see this, what I'm talking about. Can you guys see this?
We might have to zoom a bit.
You want me to zoom? Okay.
Bracken's got those 38-year-old eyes.
Is this better?
Sure.
The placings are like this seating is almost like directly aligned with the race. So the 1 seed was Amsterdam 1st place. 2nd seed was Amsterdam 2nd place. Look at this. Both sides, Glasgow 3rd place is the 3rd seed. The first time we have a discrepancy is Joanna taking 3rd in Amsterdam, but it's actually pretty close because then these just flip-flop. And then if you look, the LCQs are basically in the same spot. Hong Kong and Vegas are basically in the same spot. So again, that could be a nothing burger, but if you don't believe that course like that the courses are different, what are the chances that the seating on both sides, even though seatings don't matter for the championship race, what are the chances that they're nearly identical the whole way down?
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Less of a chance than that you PR in Berlin.
That's true too.
Now,
true too.
Matt, can you actually pull that screen up again?
Yeah, sure can.
I was also doing a little bit of research. Brakken was on this show. He called me up like 30 minutes before we went in the air. He's like, man, I didn't have time to listen to our crystal ball episode, but I had a thought. And I'm like, all right, let's hear it. And I was also doing a little bit of research. We both
Don't lead with my laziness.
I'm leading with your ladies in this. All right. I could lead with something else also, but both of us and Rich made a prediction on the, I guess, worst roll down spot to get into Worlds. And we have it right there. So it looks like on the women's side, Jess Petro was 7th and Tomasz was also 7th, I believe.
Yep.
Okay. So 7th ended up being the highest roll down spot. What do you think? Who do you think won, Rich, Brakken, or me?
I predicted way worse. I thought it was going to roll to like
probably you, Jack, because I'm pretty sure that Rich was like, if I remember correctly, Rich was like, it's going to roll all the way down.
Yeah. So Brakken, he said double digits is going to happen for sure. I want chaos, 11th or 12th. So that was Brakken. He was very, very pessimistic.
Show me some anarchy.
Yeah. I said 9th. Rich actually didn't give a number. He's like, well, Magida got 8th last year, and that was like the last available spot. So he was kind of going on the last.
I'm supposed to be the flip flopper straddling the line here.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Rich did. Yeah, because Rich said that he thought that Hong Kong would be 1st through 3rd because people wouldn't travel. So
yeah,
you're right.
Yeah. But it was actually really funny during that conversation. Rich was like, all I need to do is get into Glasgow. I've just got to get into Glasgow. I'll be in last early on. Everyone else will be dying, and then I'll just kick home. And Brakken's like, just go unbroken on wall balls. And fast forward a few months, that's like literally what happened. It was kind of funny, like hearing that. And it's like, that was
sometimes we get it right. Sometimes we get it right. All right, fellas. When we did the women's show, we started at the bottom and worked our way to the top. Do we want to do the same thing, or we want to flip it and start at the top and work our way down? Okay. We'll start at the bottom. We'll
seed wise.
We'll go seed wise, and then we will talk about what we think that their floor or what their ceiling is. We decided on the women's show that we weren't going to do floor because that's disrespectful to the athletes. Yeah.
So only the power bottom is what we'll do.
Start there. It's all about the power bar.
That's right.
Good.
That's absolutely right. Okay. All right. 15th seed, Palayo, Menendez, Fernandez. Qualifying out of Hong Kong with that 57.25. I'll start by saying 15th place will not be where Palayo ultimately
it's his floor. I'm still doing floor. It's his floor.
I guess technically 15 is theoretically the floor for everybody. In elite races in Palayo's career going back to 2023, these are the places that he has done in these elite races. He's got a 4th, an 8th, a 2, an 8th, a 4th, a 4th, a 4th, 6th, 5th.
He's almost guaranteed an even number.
Yeah. I mean, Palayo is like the definition of Mr. Consistency. I feel like, especially with the way that we have seen him podium elite races. He's not going to blow up. It's just not his style. He, running is obviously his strength. The moment never seems to be too big for him. I know he's got big goals. But curious, Jack, Brakken, thoughts on Palayo?
Well, historically, through the years of doing majors plus world championships, he's been in 8 of those competitions. His average place was 5.25. If we look at this year, he has a 4, 5, and 6. Average place is 5. I think there's no reason why the guy can't be in 5th place. He knows his body better than virtually anybody. He closes strong. He picks people off when their ego gets in the way. And Palayo's like, I'm just going to be where I need to be. And with all that, success that he's had with Rich in doubles, he's got to be feeling really confident right now. And he knows how to run his own race. So I think he's a real top 5 threat again.
Yeah. We've talked about it on here before, and I like to say it, but then in championship races, you can race for the win or you can race for your best chance at a great position. And Palayo does that. And that's why he's fourth so often, is he's not going to get it really wrong. He's like fourth plus minus 2. When he fades a little or gets a little wrong, he's sixth. Sometimes he's eighth, one time. And if he gets it on a roll and some people in the front are cracking a little bit, then he's second. But that fourth spot is about what you'd expect if you're doing the I'm going to run for the best possible result for me today intelligently. He's not a boom or bust. He is a very much like a high-end steady Eddie. And so I think that fourth, fifth is his, not his ceiling, but it's his projection. I think 2 is his ceiling.
Yeah, and I actually feel like the championship race probably lends itself a little bit better to his style of racing and even potentially Rich's, because we have not, I can't believe I'm saying this, we have still not seen Ryland Shadegg and Hunter McIntyre go head-to-head in the HYROX.
That's hard to believe.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
They're going to be in this race. JK is not going to let them. He might chill until the ski, but he's not going to let them run away with it.
Chill until the ski. So 3 minutes.
He'll chill until the last 200 meters into the ski.
Yeah.
Tim.
Ronk is not going to let them run away. Tim's not going to let them run away. This is going to be a hot race. And the reason why I'm saying that is like more so than the majors, when people were racing for placement, there are 5 or 6 guys that are going to believe that they can win this thing, and they're going to run for the win. And so we could see more carnage than what we typically have seen so far in the majors. And if we see more carnage, I think that lends itself to Palayo potentially sneaking out a podium spot.
If you look at all the women's majors, like Glasgow, for instance, it was only Lauren and Joanna who went out within 20 seconds. The rest of the field was like, nope, that's too fast. And Palayo and Rich, and there are only a couple on the men's side who do that. Most of them are just like, I've got to go. I have to go out with them. If I'm not in contact for the lead, there's no chance I can win, rather than thinking with their brain a little bit more and putting their ego aside. So I think that racing more like the women is going to pay off, and Palayo does that as good as anybody in the field.
There's too many fast people who race fast from the gun for there not to be shakeups in the second half of this race. There's also too many fast people who race too fast from the gun for it not to stick for at least one of them, which means if you're not in that first pack, I really don't believe you can win this race. But if you're in the first pack, you have a really, really good odds of not making the podium. And so Palayo, I think his ceiling is 2. Could he win the race?
Agreed.
Yes. But because he's not in that first pack, as far as I could predict, then I think if you're not in that pack, you forfeit your winning ability. So second place becomes the next highest anyone can get.
Yeah, I that's kind of what I think too. If he won, I would not be shocked, but I would agree. I think that he's probably ceiling is probably that 2 to 3 spot. And Palayo, I know you listen to the show. You know I love you, big man. Pulling for you. But yeah, I mean, I think that this race plays. I mean, we saw that last year. I mean, that's literally what happened. He ran down.
So he ended up in 4th.
Yeah, he ran down Hunter, and honestly, he was kind of surging in the back half. So there's no reason to think that he couldn't do it again.
I think if he rolled the dice and went for it, he has a chance to win this race for sure. But he also has a chance to blow up, and I don't think he'll risk it.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he can't be better than second. I'm saying with the strategy he chooses, I think 2 is the top.
Is he still living in Chicago?
Yeah.
So he gets to sleep in his own bed.
That's right. He gets to sleep in his own bed.
That is a huge advantage for someone who doesn't crack.
Gets to drink his Resolute coffee in the morning. Shout out Resolute.
Yeah. You better be paying you for that line
go.
there.
Palayo has all things working in his favor, in my opinion.
Yeah. No doubt. All right. In the 14th spot, taking 3rd place in the last chance qualifier with a 57.14, the Aussie Jonathan Wynn. Interesting story, John Wynn. We talked a couple weeks ago with BK about where John Wynn ranks all time on HYROX elite athletes. He's been Mr. Consistent in terms of he's in most of the elite races, although he has had to, for 2 years in a row, he has had to get in via the last chance qualifier. And I actually think in both situations, he did not win the LCQ. I think he got
Just Lucas
in
right?
Anaheim. There
In
was only
Anaheim.
2 spots. Yeah, there's only 2 spots on the men's side, and I think he got the second one because Lucas won. And then this year there was 3, and he got 3rd place and had to surge on the
Wall
back
balls.
half. Oh yeah, on the wall balls. John is very open about his training, probably more so than other athletes. He has been working with a run coach. He's feeling confident in his running. He's been doing a lot of heat training, which he feels like will put him in a good spot. And he's one of those other guys that, like, John's going to run his race, and he kind of is pretty open that he feels like if he's going to make time back on the sled pull, he is one of the stronger athletes on the sled pull station, and kind of puts himself in it. He's not going to go with that front pack. He knows himself. He knows that he's going to be able to eat people up. Despite the fact that he didn't have the season that he wanted from a majors perspective, he's another guy like Palayo that if there's carnage up front, that is going to play into John Wynn's favor. Like, I actually don't think, his stated goal is a top 5 finish, and I think that is probably his ceiling, but I think that there's no reason to think that he couldn't do it, because people are going to blow themselves up, and he will be there to eat them up.
Yeah, the thing that he said after that really fast doubles race, was it Barcelona, the first one? He was saying, like, it was just a little too fast. That field was just the running was a little too fast. So I feel like he's admitting, I know I probably shouldn't go out with those guys, and he's also getting fit at the perfect time, realistically, having qualified through the last chance qualifier. So I think that he knows his limits very well, and of course he'll pick people off at the end. But I do think if you look at his results historically, for majors and world championships in the past, he's got a 6'12", 6'9", 10'5", 7. So my guess is he'll be a high single digit, somewhere in like that 6 to 9 range.
Yeah, he's too experienced and too good to take last. Oh, yeah. He's not the kind of guy who's ever going to set the world on fire with setting a blazing time on a course and just like running something crazy. But he's also not the type that would ever crumble in a championship race. There is something specifically depressing and demoralizing about getting to a championship and the race goes out hot and you are suddenly gapped more than you would expect to be. And that really is difficult for people to handle. And he can handle that. He's been there so many times, and he can trust his fitness and his strategy that he will come back into the race. And you see people each year at world championships get shocked by how far back they are, because everyone's a monster there. And some people can't access their fitness in the second half because they're already demoralized. And since he doesn't have that, he will not be the 14th person. I don't see him. I would say 9th or 10th is about as bad as I see him doing, simply because he's going to be more mentally competent than most of the field.
Well, he also seems to do best when his back's against the wall. I mean, obviously he's worked his way in via the last chance qualifier. He had to stay in the majors. He had to go to Katowice and put up a 56:40, which at the time now has been blown up because of Berlin. Shout out Berlin. But like was a very fast time on the season. And when people doubt him, like some people like operate this way, like he seems to use that as fuel. And it just got announced that Team Australia / Team Proven.
Team Proven.
It's Team Proven.
Yeah.
They can say whatever they want. It's Team Proven. He made a pretty lengthy post on Instagram and talked about it on his stories. And it seems like it bothers him. And like, yeah, it stinks that he missed out on the relay, but I could absolutely see him using that as fuel to fuel him on in that race. And if that's what works for him, like that's what works for him.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Best of luck to John Wynn. In the 13th spot, the Kiwi Beau Wills, maybe the most improved athlete on the year. He secured his spot with a 3rd place finish at Vegas with a 57:09. I think Beau's ceiling is podium. Like I've been wildly impressed by his stations were always strong. He's a big guy, but he can flat out run now. And, we've talked at length about how if Beau even sees you on lunges or wall balls, you're cooked. And he's going to be seeing a lot of people on wall balls and lunges because he can run now. Like, I just don't think there's a world where he's probably not going to go out with those dudes, but he's not going to be far behind them either because he can run.
Yeah, and he's kept his finish. I've said it on here before, but what's impressed me about him is he's kept his finishing ability while keeping a higher run output. Some people can close when they aren't pushed, when they settle in, said, this is what I can keep, and then I'm going to lean into my strengths. He keeps pushing the envelope on the runs, and he's still going unbroken at the end. He's still clipping people off at the end. And so that right there is the mix for what you said. That's how you get on the podium at the end of the race. When you can run yourself into contention and then station yourself onto the podium. He has those ingredients.
Yeah, if we look at his past two majors, he got third in Las Vegas, which most of us can agree that was a little slow course. And then Glasgow, the following race, he got fourth, which was an extremely fast course. So it doesn't really matter if it's a fast or a slow course. With the way that he's developed as an athlete this past year, he's ready for anything.
Yeah, and he ran a 50-29 with Eugenio, which is still, I think, like a top 10 pro doubles men's time of all time. And, you know, he said he was being pulled along. And I think Brakken was the one that said, you can't fake the running ability. Like, he still had to run it. He pulled along or not, he still had to run it. So, you know, that's blazing quick.
There's a difference between I wouldn't have done this without him here to help me, and I can't have done it. He did it.
Yeah.
You can't take that away. That is what I would have guessed is the opposite of the skills he brings to go high intensity doubles. That exposes what he would have had exposed early in his career here. So does he make the podium? I don't know if I'm betting on that or not, but he can absolutely make this podium.
Yeah.
He's got it. Go ahead, Jack.
I was just going to agree with Brakken, where it's like dating back to Chicago 2023, his first major. His average place is 5.6, like at all majors and world championships. He got 8th last time. Las Vegas, he won his age group in 2022. So like, he doesn't crack, and that's kind of been his reputation for a long time. So I feel like it's very similar to John Wynn. I think I might bump him slightly ahead of John in terms of like top end potential, but I don't see any way that he doesn't finish in the top 10.
Yeah, I think something's probably gone horribly wrong.
And people are gonna hear us say this person can absolutely podium a lot today, and they're gonna start thinking like, well, this isn't that gutsy of you if you just say anyone can podium. But my belief is if you can go top 3 to 5 in a major, you can do it at a world championship. A major is mini worlds. It's the same,
especially because pretty much everyone has been in the majors. They've all raced each other at some point this year, with the exception of Ronk pulling back, Hunter only doing the 2, and I think JK did them all, and Rylan only did the first one. But like, pretty much they've all raced each other, so it's like we know that they can beat these other people. And
historically, you have to be able to go top 5 here to go top 5 at Worlds, and you have to be able to win one to win Worlds historically.
Yep.
Is Tobias the only outlier? Is he the only one who's ever made a world podium in a year he didn't podium a major, or win Worlds in a year he didn't win a major?
Probably, yeah.
As far as I can tell, he's the only outlier. Other than that, every single person who went top 3 could go top 3.
Has Lucas ever won a major?
I mean, last chance qualify. It's not a major, but
it's not a major, but
yeah. I mean, Lucas, didn't he win Worlds?
That was also old. That was like
I know,
BC.
I know. Yeah. I mean, bottom line, you've got 15 athletes in the field, and 9 of them have won multiple, or have had multiple podiums at majors through the years. And you're looking at Rich, Rylan, Dylan, Graham, and Bo's in that conversation. Like, that is elite company.
Vegas was stacked.
All right, so we all agree Bo's potential ceiling is podium. It's going to be, I mean, he's my vote for most improved athlete at the end of season awards. The 12th seed from Scotland, Graham Holliday, taking 3rd place at Hong Kong with the 57.09. Fun fact, Graham is one of the only people on this list who his fastest time this season actually did not come in a major. He ran a 56.33 in Stuttgart. Bo, interestingly enough, kind of similar to, Graham, interestingly enough, similar to Bo in that known for his stations, wasn't known for his running. this year has put in heavy work on his running, and it does not seem to have come at the cost of his stations. And he's surprised some people this year. I think it'd be hard to say that his ceiling isn't podium, just given that he has been on an elite podium. But thinking about how he's going to run, Brakken, kind of what you said, like how he'll run in this field, I'd probably put him in that. Like, I'd probably say ceiling is like top 5. Again, would not necessarily be shocked if he wound up on the podium, but just based on historic performances in these fields, that's probably where I'd peg him.
Yeah, and if there was one major that might not align with our, if you can win a major, go top 3, you can do it at Worlds, it would have been the major he qualified at, unfortunately. It doesn't take anything away from him. He did what he had to do there, but Hong Kong is probably the biggest outlier in terms of depth of field and what it took to do it there, and it was really early in the year. So it's just a question mark on the major, not on him. I pair him with Wynn in the same kind of prediction. Yeah, they should be top 5 and very well, might be. And does either one have the top end ability to fight off every single other one of these athletes that we say can be podium? It remains to be seen.
Yeah, and the names that we mentioned beforehand, John Wynn, Bo Wills, Palayo, Graham beat all 3 of them head to head in Hong Kong. The problem is that race was in November, and right now we're looking at a race in June, and he's been injured since then. And his home race in Scotland, he wanted to perform there, and he was just dealing with a setback. So it's like, is his health trending in the right direction? Did that setback cost him, towards the end? But this is a guy who has finished top 5 at World Championships before and beaten pretty much the best of the best in the sport. So it's a really, really tough call on where he's going to finish.
There are 4 to 5 athletes in here with big question marks of varying sizes over their head, and he's one of them. What has he done with his last 2 months? How healthy has he been, and how has his fitness progressed? I think we still have 3 more question marks to get to, potentially a 4th, but he's the first one where we're just not quite sure which version of him we are going to see.
Yeah, he's back to running. He infamously did a 100-mile week and then hurt his hip. I probably jacked up the volume a little too much, but he's been healthy. He's been running well. So we shall see. It looks like his best finishes have typically, I'm looking right now, his best elite finishes have been on slow courses. And like going back to, he took 2nd in DC with the 58.08. I remember sleds beat people up pretty good. He took 5th in Manchester 2023 to Jack's point. He does have a top 5 finish at Worlds with a 58.41. I don't think a time in the 58s is going to be good enough for. And granted, that's 2 years ago, and a year ago he's much faster too. But it does seem like when he does the best is when it's slow and grindy, and I'm just not sure that that's how this race is going to go. Although we'll see. We'll see what
how are the sleds going to be?
Well, yeah, we have 2.
We have no idea.
2 differences this year. The first is that the courses haven't been historically fast at Worlds, and Chicago is historically our fastest U.S. course.
Yeah,
it is a very good course to open up and run on. Usually have some long rock zone runs. That's not in his favor. In theory, again, we'll see how his fitness has progressed. But the second is that we're debuting the turf. The turf could be chaos in this, A, from the standpoint of it might just remove the need to be strong, and B, it might be so chaos amongst HYROX employees where they're going to be changing up weight and changing things on race day, trying to find what really is fair and a valid pull here. So we have no clue what the sleds are going to be like here.
Yep.
We might be pushing 1,200 pounds. We might be pushing the same and just scooting right across like it's on ice. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Which again is absurd. It's ridiculous that we're talking about a standardized race. We don't know what to expect at the World Championship.
Of all the races to have it in, it needs to be the first race of the year or the World Championship, because this way it doesn't impact who got here. At least everyone got here in one way and are going to all hit unknown all at once, but at least they didn't make their qualification any goofier by putting this earlier.
No, it's got to be only in the first race of the year. You can't change how the entire season has gone and be like, we're switching equipment.
It's like Kona or Tahoe. The other goofy sports do this. It's not good, but it's acceptable under the confines of goofy games, which HYROX will always be.
Yeah, except for the
best
change
way.
they're making. The change that they're making affects really the only piece of equipment that matters for the athletes, which is their shoes. If you get the shoe choice wrong, you could be out of the race 7 minutes in, and it's just because you picked the wrong shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a positive response to that.
Right?
You're
I mean,
right.
that's the only piece of equipment that matters, and is the one that, like, pardon my language, is most likely to get fucked up by you picking the wrong thing.
If the shoe expert is like, I don't have a positive response, it's a bad situation.
We have one positive, is that
Yeah.
there is one shoe guaranteed to be good on turf, and that's the shoe with the gnarliest lugs. And that's what Rich races in. So that's our positive. Rich is set.
The Rebellion Pro Wave has gnarly lugs.
Yeah, it's got these tiny little triangle teeth on it. They're really small and they bite into things.
Oh, interesting.
And so the other ones that require
So do the
rubber
Endorphin Pro
to grip.
3s.
Yeah. Potentially they're not as big. So anything that
Not as
requires
big,
the
yeah.
rubber to be sticky, we don't know how that works on the turf. But anything that gets their grip from lugs will do fine. So our boy is set. As will be Palayo.
Lauren Weeks.
Dylan will be in a version of them, I would guess.
Yeah. He likes those. He likes the ones. All right. Moving on. We could talk shoes all day. In the 11th spot, this is talking the 3-time world champion, the greatest of all time in HYROX, Hunter McIntyre, securing his spot in Vegas with a second place finish of 56:37. His fastest time of the season is a 55:33, which he ran in Brisbane. Not anywhere close to his PR. His fastest time of all time is that 53:22 that he ran in Estacombe back in 2023. This one I think is interesting. I was actually thinking about this morning while I was prepping for the show. I think when I've done the top 5 episodes, I've been a little bit harsh on Hunter, and I think that's been justified based on the performances this season. He has not raced like a top 5 athlete. However, that being said, coming into this world championship, I would be afraid of what Hunter is about to do. And the reason why I say that is I went back and looked. Last season, I don't know if you all remember, he was doing all these like little side quests. He was competing in HYROX, but he was like doing some other things. He was like doing HYROX training, but then he was also talking about how he was going to set the Murph world record, and he was posting all this content that he was running with a weight vest, and he was trying to prep for Murph, but then he was like cutting weight, and he was like doing all these things.
He also injured his shoulder.
He got
throughout that pursuit.
Yeah, he injured his shoulder in like a mountain biking accident, and the dude has been like, and granted, I don't know. I don't talk to him like BK talks. I know BK talks to him like once a month, if that, but still, you actually talk to him. This is just all from my perception of what I can see. He has been locked in on training. He's gone back to what he knows. He's gone back to the mountains. He's training in the mountains. He's doing things that he knows works. He's kind of stopped. I mean, not kind of, he has stopped the side quest. He hasn't competed in anything not HYROX related this calendar year.
Other than a trail half marathon.
Which
he smoked, and he used that as a training run. He's, when Hunter was scary back in the day, he was scary because a man that big, BK, you correct me if I'm wrong, a man that big should not be able to run trails like that. And he's fast right now. You look at some of his segments on Strava, like the times that he's putting at the elevation that he's putting, like he's kind of blocked out the noise. He's not posting nearly as much like I feel like last year was like the side quest and like the enterprise of Hunter, of like all of the stuff. And that stuff is like non-existent. Like he's not doing a bunch of media things. Like he's really just kind of cooking out in the woods. And that is, I think, should be scary for people.
Well, you mentioned talking with Hunter. He and I have talked the least amount this year than we ever have. And we finally talked just a few weeks ago. And from what I'm hearing, we're going to see one of two things at Worlds. He is dialed. He is training hard. We're either going to see another version of he got it a little wrong or overcooked, or we're going to see scary Hunter for a long time in this race. And even last year, when he got it a little wrong and overcooked, he was clearly one of the 3 best there for 6.5 stations. So it's not like he had to revamp his whole world. He just needed to finish off the race this year. He was being gang raced against by those two, by Sandy and Alex.
And it worked.
He handled it for a long time, and then he didn't. And what have we always talked about on here? He basically has one indicator of his race, and it's burpee broad jumps. And he must have brought those up 3 or 4 times in our conversation. So without going too far into specifics, he's preparing for the thing and things that have got him in the past.
Yeah, this is like a level of like laser focusedness that as long as I've been in the sport, I don't think because he's always been larger than life. And it was like kind of like the brand, like at one point, like got ahead of the athlete. And now I feel like he's focused on the athlete and not the brand. And I think that is terrifying for everybody else.
Yeah. If we look at Hunter's stats, so 2020 World Championship, he won. So here's his World Championship performance in the past: 1-4-1, 1-5. Is he gonna, keep doing those ones? They're alternating like that. This could be another year where he gets a title. But realistically, his past 3 races that we've seen him at that counted for World Championships or majors, 5-2-9. So not looking good, but I do not believe those results. I think he's locked in, and I would be shocked if he's not on the podium.
Yeah, my one thing on that though was that people don't talk about because it really is true. Like, one is the only thing that people remember. He was gaining on Dylan in Vegas. And if that race would have lasted another 20 seconds when Dylan was wall balling, I think Hunter would have gotten him. But then he didn't get him. Dylan took off. And then I think at that point, he was secure in second place. And I think he took a couple of breaks where maybe he didn't need to. So I don't put a ton of stock into that second place. I agree with you on the 5. And then the Glasgow thing, I am willing to write off by the fact that I think he just, he traveled the world. He literally went around the world circumference wise. He flew straight from Australia 2 days beforehand and had raced in Brisbane twice the weekend before. He did the solo race where he ran the 55 low, and then he did the mixed doubles with Joanna, and then he raced. And I think, he even admitted like, hey, I probably wouldn't have, hindsight being 2020, I probably wouldn't have done that again, which I think is like, we've talked about, will he continue to be like the brash, larger than life personality, or will he like kind of lock in? And I think that's the thing that sticks out to me, is it really seems like he's locked in. I think we've alluded to this, but his ceiling is 1. Like, he is one of the few people in this race that I feel like I would put money on, I would take those odds, whatever they are. Cause I'm sure they're higher than what they should be based on those historical performances, Jack, but that's value.
Well, I think there's 3 people in this race who have 1+ as their ceiling. It's 1+ world record. And he is one of those 3. And if there are only 3 people that on their day have that as the option, then he is not a 9th place guy. He's not a 5th. He's not a 4th. He is a top 3 guy unless something goes wrong, because he's only one of 3 who can win this and set a world record while doing it. Doesn't mean he's guaranteed top 3, but he is still a favorite for this. But this is the last one we get to say that for. If it doesn't happen, next year is going to be a free-for-all, because we've heard it, he's done it. We've heard it, he's done it. Now we have to see it, right? This is me moving away into only talking head territory. There's only so many times you can come back until maybe it's not there anymore. So he does need to come out, and he needs to put on a dominant performance here in order for, like, that aura you talked about, that invincibility thing that he had. In order for that to still be a thing, he has to win this race.
What are the odds that Hunter is not the first person to touch the sled pole?
Touch the sled pole?
At best, it's 50-50.
Really?
Because there are people who want to prevent that and are good.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who want to be first to sled that can do it.
My guess is, if I had to put a betting favorite on who'd be the first to touch the sled pole, I'd say JK.
I think he's going to wait a little bit till burpee broad jumps. I think that Hunter wants to have a buffer heading into burpee broad jumps. So I think he's going to go out hard and be like, earn it, and do the same exact strategy he did last year.
Or is he going to race within himself because he knows that he needs to hit the gas on burpees? Because that's where it's gone wrong.
Now he's prepping specifically for burpees, and he's prepping to hit it with a high heart rate. But again, there are so many people that want to do the same thing here that it's fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating. There's only one. Now, I think he's physically ready. I think he's mentally ready. I believe Hunter wins this race, but if he doesn't, there is one reason why, and it's because as he stepped away from the sport a bit, just in terms of competing a lot, everyone else has been in dogfights. Even JK, who is arguably the best in the sport, has been in dogfights and has had to win several different ways and has made mistakes on course. And all of those things round you into a better championship racer. So Hunter's dominance still came at a time when he was unchallenged on the back half, and we haven't seen him challenged on the back half yet and come out on top smelling like roses, right? So there still is that one question mark about him. We know what his ceiling is. We know what he can do, but everyone else has now had more back half races than he has.
But to that point, he has been in dogfights his last 3 elite races.
Yeah.
And you'd got to think he's learned from it. And he still has he probably has the most championship race experience and pedigree of anybody. I mean, going back to OCR days.
He does for sure. But how many has he won in dogfights in HYROX?
Like,
you don't think that this is where you don't think that this, but he won some dogfights in OCR, right? You don't think that's translatable?
Oh, it's translatable once you see one go in.
Here,
but he had Dylan in sight and Dylan pulled away.
Yeah,
I'll give you some numbers.
In HYROX. Yeah.
When he won in 2020, he beat Lucas by 2.5 minutes. When he won in 2022, he beat Kent by 2.5 minutes. 2023, he won by 55 seconds over Alex.
I mean, by 2023, it was over by the sled. He was on a victory tour by burpees.
So what's his closest win?
55 seconds over Alex, 2023.
Right.
But
so
remember, he took like 5 minutes on the wall ball. I mean, he was literally milking it.
As soon as he gets one, it's beyond reproach in his mind. The door's closed. It's over. No one can touch me if I can do this one thing. There's just that last question he hasn't answered about himself yet. And my belief is that this field is good enough that you're not going to be alone until later than he's ever had company.
I don't think he's ever going to be. I think that even he's never going to be alone. So
he has to answer that question.
Yeah, this is not going to be a runaway race. There's too many talented athletes who can run. There's too many guys who are going to try to bust it. There is not going to be. I think that Meg Jacoby winning by 4 minutes last year is the last time that we're ever going to see a major race or world championship where the winner is done before the next person touches wall balls. He's going to have someone with him.
Yeah,
it's inevitable.
It's going to be the hardest to win.
This could still be a minute to 90-second gap first to second. I believe that world still exists.
No.
Yeah.
I think that could. I think someone runs 53
flat,
he's not going to be alone.
No, I don't think. Yeah, what I'm saying is that there could be a minute gap first to second, but it's going to be the kind of thing that opens up kind of on accident, and then they hold it. It's not going to be a destruction.
Yeah. All right, we got to get moving for the sake of time. It'll be interesting. Like we said last week, lock in, tune in. There's going to be fireworks. If Hunter's in the race, there's going to be fireworks.
I think it's 50-50 he doesn't make the podium, and I think it's 50-50 he sets the world record. How contradictory is that? And I believe them both.
It's not, because I think that's how Hunter races. He's either going to win and set the world record, or he is going to crack himself trying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I actually don't know if I actually think his ceiling is 1 or mid pack, because I actually don't know that I would put money on him to take second or third, because if something has gone wrong, it's going wrong. So, all right. In the 10th spot, qualifying at a last chance qualifier, second place with the 56.33, Heidie Wiersma. Jack, Mr. European, you know all about the Europeans. Talk to us about Heidie.
That is an unreal race to qualify from, realistically, given how deep that Barcelona field was. We've seen how he's kind of blown up on wall balls and doubles recently. I think that's his kryptonite, basically. And I know that's doubles racing, but this guy is aggressive. He can run. He was the overall age group champion in Nice in 2024 with a 59.12. He won his age group there, the 25-29, but he's leveled up this year. And I mean, I've been impressed at all the live coverage or clips that I've seen of races of him. He sticks his nose in it. It's just, will he hang on in wall balls?
This is
fair assessment.
This is the type of athlete that I won't say this about him personally, because I don't necessarily believe this about him, but his prototype with his experience level at championships, this is the learning world championships. This is the championship where you come out and you might be successful and you might just be kind of imploded by the enormity of the task. I'm not saying this is going to happen to him, but he's one of the only candidates in the field with limited championship experience. And so that is really, I mean, this sport is so good right now. It's a tough task to come into this field with significantly less championship experience and be aggressive. It's also the only, it's one of the only new people that could come in, him and like a Rylan, and be instantly successful because maybe they're not afraid of the moment. But I do see him as more of a boomer bust. And I don't think there's a lot of those in this field.
Yeah, I'd put his ceiling at like, this is probably the first time we've said this, but I'd probably put his ceiling at like 8, 9. Yes, the last chance qualifier, impressive, no doubt. I'm not taking anything away from that. There are fantastic athletes in that field, but you're right. We haven't seen, I mean, we've seen some people in the elite races like get eaten up by the moment. And this is the brightest lights of them all until you are actually in the race where multiple guys go out at 318, 320 pace and then don't fall off right away. I just don't know that you can mentally prep yourself for that. And until we see him clean up wall balls, there's just going to be too many guys that are going to, like, Graham has unbroken wall balls. JK has unbroken wall balls. Alex has unbroken wall balls. Rich has unbroken wall balls. Bo has unbroken wall balls. Did I say John Wynn?
Mm-hmm.
John Wynn has unbroken wall balls. I believe Hunter can probably go unbroken on wall balls. I mean, that's 7 guys.
That being said, though, Matt, John Wynn, you just mentioned him, had unbroken wall balls at the last chance qualifier in Barcelona, and he still beat him by almost 45 seconds.
It's true.
That is true, but the rest of the race didn't have 7 dudes that were running the way that they were running. So it's gonna be how does he race?
He just has the most unknowns about him as a championship athlete. Even something that seems insignificant until you're there. Warming up when no one else is racing around and the only people in the venue are just staring at you and watching, and it's just you and the other studs and nothing else is happening. Your warm-up is now the focus of attention. That's different. That changes your mental state before a race. So you cannot be ready for a world championship until you've experienced it. So we're not saying it's going to crack him. We're just saying that he's one of the only people that has these question marks, and we get to watch him answer these questions on race day.
Yep. All right. In the 9th spot, second place out of Hong Kong with the 56.22, Tim Beinish. Tim, unlimited potential. A lot of people thought that he was kind of the next up and coming. I mean, he's still young, for crying out loud. I mean, he competes in the, 25 to 29 age group. I think he's like 25 or 26. So he's still relatively young. He had a great season. 5th place in Amsterdam, I believe. Yep, that is correct. 2nd place in Hong Kong, 9th in Vegas, but then followed it up with a very impressive 2nd place finish in Glasgow, where JK set the world on fire. I feel like podium for Tim is ceiling, and I would be amazed just based on Tim's pedigree, his championship racing background, how he has done historically in majors. He's got quite a few 2nd place finishes. We just haven't seen him punch it home to get the win. So I wouldn't feel comfortable saying his ceiling is 1, just because I tend to agree with Brakken. In order to say that you could win, you have to have at least done it before. Podium for sure. Don't think he's outside the top 10.
Is he going to be this year's Sandy?
He's trying. I mean,
race strategy. Like
I
maybe
think so.
go out with the lead pack, because we've seen him do that basically all year at majors. Maybe hang on. Maybe end up in second place with a chance to win on the wall balls.
So he's my third question mark in this race because we never know exactly what has transpired in between races. If he has improved at all since Glasgow, he can be in the lead through 6, 7 stations for sure if he wants to be. Some people don't have the option to if they wanted to. He can. He's one of the few people that can lead this race if he wants to. And so I believe, yes, he is this year's Sandy. I don't know if he makes it quite as long. I mean, Sandy made it a long way last year. Sandy made it, what, 80 wall balls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the farthest we've seen Tim make it, keep me honest, was Hong Kong, right? He made it all the way to the end of Farmers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I would even count making it pretty far in Glasgow because JK was on one that day. Historically, if JK's not doing that thing, Tim's still up with anyone. So I know what you're saying and you are correct. But yeah, I believe, Jack, you're right. He plays the role of Sandy this year. How far he makes it, that's the question mark.
Yeah. So he raced in 2019 World Championships and 2022. He got 13th and 5th in those 2 races. He's had a couple of instances where, next man up got called at the start line, right? Didn't that happen with Colin?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like there is a little uncertainty, but I think that he is poised to race this year. And, absolutely, I would say second place is probably the ceiling. He can easily be on the podium.
Yep.
And for all the foolishness of surging that he's done this year early in the race, along with JK and other people, I still think those are all foolish things, whether they're tactical or not. That's only they know that prepares you for championship races. And so even though if I wouldn't have agreed with every move he made throughout the year, I agree with the end result, which is, what are you going to do to him in the first 3 stations here that's going to throw him off his game? Probably nothing. He's ready to handle the start.
And we've also seen that he is, was it Glasgow where he front ran with Hunter and hammered the sled? I think we actually talked about that, like the visual of what it did to see Tim, who's not a big guy, blow past Hunter on the sleds. So
he was doing it in Vegas too. He blew up in Vegas, but he was strong for a while in Vegas.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be another fun one to watch. In the 8th spot, could never forget his name because he reminds you when he crosses the finish line. Dylan Scott taking first place in Vegas with a 56:15. Dylan is actually one of the only athletes in this field whose PR did not come in this season. He ran a 55:33 in Fort Lauderdale last year. We actually set the world on fire, and then that was a week before DC, and then he went on to win the DC major. Dylan is the most interesting one to me on this list because I think it's fair to say, I'm not trying to wind up being bulletin board material. We just don't know what we're going to. We just don't know what we're going to get. Dylan could podium this race and Dylan could blow up. I don't think it's likely that he blows up given it's an American race and he historically has done well there. But Dylan has kind of had an up and down season for whatever reason. And that just kind of seems to be the way that it goes for him. He won Vegas. He qualified for the elite doubles in Houston with Jeremy McConnell. Then he ran that Miami race seemingly as a tune-up, had a really bad sled pull that he talked a lot about, ran a 59:12 or 59:19. I think that's probably fair to say. I don't know. His ceiling is high, but I just don't know.
Who would have thought at the beginning of this year I'd be making this statement? He and Hunter are in the exact same category for this world championship. They both could win this thing or finish off the podium, and they would probably do it in the exact same style. It's just very strange that those two are kind of joined at the hip this year. They've had a close race in Vegas. They have the same question marks coming in, different areas where the question marks are coming from, but they're both on their best day they're one of a few people who look actually impervious to this race. On their best day, they do not look like anything is challenging them whatsoever. And if we get that Dylan wins this race. And there's not one person in the field that could benefit more or less from the sleds than Dylan Scott. This is a fast race. If the sleds have very little impact on it, he's gotten better at the sleds. He's good at them, but it benefits him more than anyone else in the field.
Yeah. And being on US soil, we already mentioned that traveling internationally, like he got 15th in the same season that he got first. Like Amsterdam, going overseas, worst race. Las Vegas, home country, his best race of the year. You don't accidentally.
Is there any other Elite 15 athlete that can say that has a 1 and a 15?
No, he's the only one that I'm aware of who has done that. And he has 2. He hasn't won one. He's won 2 majors, including DC, in his career. Like, he knows how to win. He won DecaFit World Champs. Like, he trained as much as anybody. His confidence is high. He got 6th place in Las Vegas the last time that World Championships was on US soil. I think he's going to be much closer to the front than towards the back, in my opinion, this time.
Yeah. I'm so excited for him in Hunter's race.
If you're going to set the line, he's got like a 1 and a 15. I guess the average of those is 8. Like, is it about the right? Where would you take? Higher or lower?
I don't know. I cannot pick with this man. He's as good as any single person has ever been at this sport. But the only issue is when he gets it wrong, it more often than not is that World Championship.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part for me, Jack, is like the difference between him and Hunter is Hunter could win, but even in a championship race, if Hunter blows up and falls off the podium, I think he falls off to 4th or 5th, or maybe 6th. If Dylan blows up, it could be a bottom 5 performance. And so that's like the question mark.
Yeah, even his world's his performances, he's got a 6, 14, and a 10 the past 3 times. So it's like hit or miss.
This could be US centric of me. I really don't see him outside the top 5. I don't think he can blow up like that. I mean, yes, he can. Anyone can. But you take the travel away, all he has to get now is the timing the training to the race correctly. It's a big question mark. It's a hard thing to do, especially at the volume and intensity he works at. But I don't think we see a big blow up potential out of him this year. It's just, does he compete for the win or not?
I don't think it's likely, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. And that's what makes it hard.
Correct.
So shout out Dylan. All right. In the 7th spot, Tom Rogers winning that last chance qualifier with the 56.05, the Aussie, one of the new names in the field. There was a lot of question marks about the races down under, just because we hadn't necessarily seen them, compete. But I think Tom has proven that he's legit. I mean, you can't fake a 56.05, and you definitely can't fake a 56.05 in the last chance qualifier. Yeah, against that field. Respect to him. Dude can run. He has always done pretty well. His first 2 races were just a tick over 60 minutes, but he has been consistently in the 58s for the last 2 seasons. He's finally getting his chance. He's coming over. I mean, I would say that, like, just based on that LCQ performance, I'd put him as his ceiling. I'd probably put him middle of the pack. We'll see what happens in his first elite race, if the lights are too bright. But just based on the way he runs, like, I think he's probably put him at like ceiling around like 7th, 6th, put his floor around 12, 13. And, don't think he gets last. Don't think he's a podium threat in his first one, but maybe.
He's never run a major, so this is going to be the big test, like the uncertainty, which Brakken kind of alluded to with Heidie earlier. But the guy knows how to be at the front. I know they're only local races in Australia for the most part and the APAC region, but he has 3 seconds and 3 wins. And one of those wins was the only time that he ever traveled all the way around the world to Spain, and he took down one of the deepest fields that we've ever seen in that Barcelona last chance qualifier race. He took first place with Chris Woolley in pro doubles as well, so he's going to be racing again. I think the guy's on fire at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, repeat my Heidie conversation with the caveat that he won the LCQ, and that means something. That really does. I just don't love having to do the LCQ in the first place. It screws up the build. Jack, do you have any stats off the top of your head about best world championship performance by an LCQ athlete?
I'd have to look that up.
Well, it'd be JK who got, it'd be JK.
6th or so, maybe.
It'd be, yeah, what JK got, what did he get at Worlds last year? 3rd?
Oh, he got 3rd last. That was via LCQ?
Yeah, but remember they did 2 LCQs.
It wasn't
kind of
Anaheim.
Like, it was a weird thing. Yeah, he did Cologne.
Yeah. So I think that's the outlier. It's very tough to nail both, unfortunately. And so that's a check in the negative column. But the fact that he won it as kind of a novice in the championship racing world is a really, really encouraging sign.
Yeah.
Now I'll give Rich a little credit. We, on our crystal ball episode earlier in the season, we were making bets on how many new men would be at HYROX World Championship. I said 4, Brakken said 4, Rich said 3. Turns out there are actually 5. But Rich said Tom Rogers if he gets the opportunity. So he saw it ahead of time.
Yeah. All right. In the 6th seed, Tomasz Tvrdik getting the 7th place rolled on at a Glasgow 56:03. Tomasz has actually raced a lot of elite races in the last couple of seasons. This is someone who I think he notably got in via the wall ball gate, dive gate with Sean Noble in that Glasgow race. He was 8th, and then after a video review, they changed him to 7th. Tomasz is a great athlete. Obviously, he's, like I said, he's been in the Elite 15 consistently. This is someone who I don't necessarily think is a podium threat, though. And just kind of speaking the facts here, he does have one pretty strong finish. We got 4th in Vienna in 2024. That's his best finish in a major. Since then, his elite finishes have been 11th, 12th, 13th, 8th. That got bumped up to 7th. It kind of would put him in that, like, I think in a championship race, I'd kind of put him in that 8 to 9 range. I think that, I wouldn't necessarily expect him to set the world on fire in the world championships.
Yeah, I think some athletes, your call on them is that what you see is what you can expect. And I think he's pretty consistently around that 10 spot, and that would be a success. You are top 15 in the world. Fantastic. Congratulations. Anything better than 15th is a big win for some athletes. And I think that any spot greater than like 10 for him is a really solid showing.
Yep.
I hope every single one of these athletes proves me wrong. And I'm a fan of the sport, but some people just in any given year are destined to be middle of the pack.
Yeah, his average showing in majors is 9th, and he got 11th at last World Championship. Like, he has clearly established himself as someone good enough to get into the game, but might not be towards the front of the pack.
Yeah. All right, in the 5th seed, Rylan Shadegg taking that 3rd place spot in Amsterdam with the 55:53, which is also his PR. This one is interesting to me. This is probably the one person, BK, that I would say, despite the fact that he's never won a major, I'm a believer in the ceiling. And yes, I think his ceiling is 1. I think especially he's been posting a lot lately that it seems like he actually made a post, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that he had been like longing for the days when it came to like hard running, that he was limited more by his legs burning versus his throat closing. And he's finally back to the place where he's running paces that the limiter is actually the lactic acid in his legs and not the breathing. And, we've kind of been wondering when we'd see that Rylan again. Probably hasn't been there since Chicago 2023. Sounds like he's back. I wouldn't put him as a betting favorite over Ronk or JK, but if he wins, I don't think anyone would be surprised.
I would.
And he's going to try to win.
Yeah, I would be surprised. I think that it takes something so dialed and refined to win this world championship. And that'd be the thing that he hasn't had race opportunity to do yet. Do I think he's a future world champion? Yeah, I really do. I think he might have the best special engine in the field right now. I think he does. But there are people who have done nothing but this thing ever since last year, and they were already really good. And he's had, I wouldn't necessarily call him side quests. I would say he's been sidelined by things. And I think it's going to be slightly too much to overcome. So I'm going to put his ceiling at 2. It's not really that bold, but I'm going to say, no, I don't see him with a chance to win this race.
Well, you mentioned that.
I think that second is astonishing to even say he has a chance at for someone who's raced this little in this sport.
And his last result was 8th. But Matt, you mentioned that second place in 2023 Chicago. Do you know who he beat in that field? He beat Alex.
Everybody.
He beat Rich, James, Dylan, like the entire field. Many of them are still qualified this year. He's run at that venue. You know when he can open up. Like, that is a dangerous man on this type of course.
I think if you give him any other person's year of health and racing that's in this Elite 15, he's my world championship favorite. But he's going
to make it interesting. And
for sure.
What's fun for me is he has talked about how he wished back in the day, he wished that he could have run against Hunter in Hunter's OCR glory days. And he wanted to race Hunter because he viewed Hunter as being the best. And amazingly, we've never seen the two of them race. And I'm excited for that because he will go out hot and he will not be afraid to stick his nose in it. And that's going to be fun.
I just hope that he doesn't do what he did in Amsterdam and run an absolutely foolish second lap and offer water to Alex. Just stay dialed in, see what happens.
Part of what makes people like him special.
It's true.
I think that would require him
drum beats
changing who
differently.
he is. Yeah, I don't think he's going to change who he is.
Yeah.
People love it.
I don't see any way where he is not with the front pack. He did that in OCR. He's done that in HYROX historically. Like, he is there to win. He's not there to finish well unless it's a win.
And he's got legit world championship experience, so he will be a problem. In the 4th spot, Jake Dearden getting his roll down at Glasgow at 6th place, 55:44. Jake is someone who I feel like is probably in that middle pack. His elite finish, he got into the elites this year. He did not race solos at Worlds last year, but he won the doubles overall with Mark Dean. This year, he took 11th in his debut race in Amsterdam, took 5th in Vegas, and then took 6th in Glasgow, where he ultimately got in. He's just seemed to get better. Running is his strong suit. I think he just ran like a 33 low 10K, which I would imagine is probably one of the faster times in the Elite 15 men's field right now. Definitely is probably top 7 time. You think that's probably fair, Jack? BK?
It's mid pack. I think you've got a lot of guys who are running sub 32.
A lot of guys in this field running sub 32.
I do not. I think he's
32x.
I think we have a lot of sub 33s.
Yeah, 30. Okay, you're right.
Yeah, as I say, sub 32s.
Either way, it's good, but it's not special anymore from that perspective, simply because the sport has taken their running seriously.
Yep. He's improved all season. I think he's going to be good. I don't know if I'd peg him as a podium favorite. I wouldn't go that far. But I think you kind of know he's someone else with Tomasz, where I think you kind of know what you're going to get. You're going to get consistency. He's going to be there. He closed really well, actually, in Glasgow, which was a good sign. So I would expect more of the same. And he could be someone that if there's carnage up front, he eats him up.
Yeah. I see him as next year's Bo. Yep. I think that there's a bright future ahead of him. I think that this year he's seated at the high end of accurate. I think he's going to do very well. I don't see him as a podium threat yet. That doesn't mean he's not, but I think next year he could have a breakout year the way Bo has this year.
He already has the running too, so that's the hard part. And he came over. James Kelly selected him to be his partner for pro doubles in Houston. They whooped the field by almost a minute. Sorry, Raw Debo, but they beat you guys that day. So he's proven he can travel internationally. I mean, he travels all the time anyway for racing. So I don't think that this international trip will be a big deal for him.
Yeah, he's gonna be fine. All right, in the 3rd spot, our boy Rich Ryan, Glasgow, 3rd place with a 54:54. Hard to believe that after all the talk, Rich is the really had a breakthrough this year, is the 4th fastest guy in HYROX history. He ran that 54:28 in Chicago, which we put it through Jack's butt. It was legit. It wasn't a fast course. It was legit time. Rich is dialed. He's dialed in on his training. Seems like he's just getting better, which is also cool to see. You know, he's on he's 38, 39. He's been good all season. I would say ceiling for Rich, I think third place. He's ecstatic. I don't know if I believe that he'd finish 1 or 2, but I think he's capable of finishing third. We know he's not going to run out with the front runners. We know that's literally the opposite of what he did in Glasgow. He was 14th or 15th out of the ski and worked his way back. He is strong on the sleds. He is strong on the ergs. We know he's got unbroken wall balls in the tool belt. I'm excited to see this race from him.
If the sleds are indeed easier, I think it frees him up. Now, even though the sled pull has become a weapon for him, I think it frees him up to be able to semi-coast those and maybe use his running as a weapon in the second half rather than as a strength. We haven't seen him rip the second half runs yet. We've seen him kind of ride the line of comfortably fast. We haven't seen him yet just throw caution to the wind in the second half. And he hasn't had to. He's had a ton of success. But this could be one of those times where he gets out of the row and is like, you know what? I think I'm going to press the runs harder than I've ever pressed them and see what happens. So I do believe second is attainable for him.
I think second is a ceiling. I don't think you could win this unless you go out hard, and Rich knows better. He's not going to do that. He's methodical. He's thinking this. I truly think that he's going to wind up on the podium. And you don't run sub 55 twice in the same season accidentally. You know his confidence is really high. He's got Palayo in the field. You know the two of them are going to be just picking people off left and right as the race goes on. How many times has he done 100 unbroken wall balls at this point? He knows that's a weapon. He's going to smell blood in the water. I think this is Rich's race. And guess what? It's only a 2-hour flight.
Yeah, I think, I go back to what Brakken said at the beginning with Palayo. They're very similar to me, and I don't think Rich will run this race. I don't think Rich will run this race. That's a tongue twister. To win, I think he will run it to place. And I think that there will be 6 or 7 guys who will run the race to win. And I think 1 to 2 of them will hang on, which is why I feel that way. But I agree that he's got he has that running ability. Running is his weapon. And we used to say that he was a runner first, but you're right, Jack, his stations are strong now. So there is no reason to think that he couldn't sneak up to that second place spot.
Of all the people in the field, he's the one person that is closest to being able to defy the statement of, if you don't go out with the leaders, you can't win it. If someone wins this race who was not with the lead pack going into the ski erg, it is Rich Ryan. He's the only one I think that can crack through that glass ceiling that I've placed upon him.
Yeah, and I know it's a different sport. He did win a world title in Decafit before. He knows what it takes to win. That was a very deep field that day, and he's podium multiple times in HYROX majors through the years. I think this is his year.
Yeah. Shout out to our boy. Hope he does it. All right, we got 2 athletes left, and I have a hard cutoff, fellas, so we are going to have to be efficient. We'll talk about them both actually at the same time, because I think it's honestly a coin flip between the two. We got James Kelly qualifying second out of Amsterdam with a 55:29, and Alexander Roncevic qualifying out of Amsterdam with a 54:07. JK has had the better season. JK's stock is through the roof right now. I think JK is the betting favorite. I'm not willing to say with absolute certainty that that's my pick to win. I'd have to think about that a little bit more. But if we had betting odds, JK is probably plus 150, maybe plus 100. He is probably the favorite to win. He has had the most consistent season. He had one quote unquote bad race, which was Vegas, where he, could have been trying a strategy and then set the world on fire in Glasgow. Thoughts on JK?
At the start of the season, we were talking about Ronk potentially going undefeated. And JK was the closest thing to it this year. He has ascended. He has not come down, and he has had struggles. He has had race mishaps. He is coming into this having won and succeeded in more different ways than anyone in this field. That is a dangerous mix to have coming into a world championship. The only question about him is, when does he find I've done too much? That's the only question mark I can come up with for him. He's a scary racer, but he also races a lot. And oftentimes you find out one race too late. I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying that the only negative I can find with him is potentially, is this the time he finds out I did too much this year?
He podiumed at Worlds last year. He's made that ascension, and now his mission is finish in first place. He has multiple wins in majors this season. Not afraid of anybody. Like, one bad race by his standards doesn't offset the rest of the season. I think he knows he's the favorite realistically.
Yeah. Yep. And then on the other side, Alexander Roncevic, who is the reigning world champion, won Amsterdam, did not have the race he wanted in Hong Kong. There were some question marks about where he was at, and I think he put those to bed by running a 54.43 in Cologne and then running a 49.36 with Thiago. Granted, it was Berlin, but his running is back. I don't know what to expect out of Roncevic because we haven't seen him race a ton this year, but his fitness seems to be peaking at the right time. He is one of the, I think there's only 3 people that we've said that we thought could win this race. Roncevic is the 3rd or the 4th. It's hard to bet against world champion. You know, he has been Mr. Consistent. He was always getting second place. He finally broke through last year. He was a part of the, you know, the kind of ganging up on Hunter. No reason to think that he's not a problem at world championships.
If you look at, go ahead.
He's just the most unflappable mind in the field. So if there's a person that could have this type of year and walk in supremely confident, it's him.
Yeah. He's walking into the venue. People haven't really seen him at a major since November. He's like an unknown commodity at this point, but he's also the reigning world champ. So everyone kind of respects that at this point. And if you look at all of his previous world championships, his races 2:24.21. That's an average of 2.2 plays. Hunter is 2.4. So he technically has the best average finish in HYROX history at world championships. I know that James has kind of been on a roll, but it's like, is Alex the favorite now that he's run those 2 races in the 54s, 55s at local venues?
No, it's still JK for me, but I hear your point.
Yeah. I would give James like 51% chance, Alex 49 if we're putting the 2 head to head.
Final thoughts, fellas.
Sport is filled out. This is by far the most compelling world championship 1st through 10th we've ever seen.
This is a 90-minute podcast, and to be honest, we probably could have gone another 45 minutes.
We sped through the final guys.
Yeah, we probably. Yeah. Well, that's my fault. I should have. I should have done a little better job on the. But that's my point. Like, there's just so much to talk about. So. Yeah. It'll be interesting. Let us know in the comments where we got it right. Let us know where we got it wrong. Like and subscribe to the YouTube, to the Spotify, to the newsletter.
Instagram.
We appreciate you for listening. Instagram. Give us a follow.
Well, Marcus, while we were recording, sent out the newest race brand drop.
Yeah,
so
he did it.
Get on that email list. It's good stuff.
All right, we did it, fellas. We out.